Hey everyone, today we have our panelists Vishal and Siddharth. Hi Vishal, hi Siddharth.
Hi, Lokeshwar.
या सो आज का पर्पस ये है कि हम जानेंगे दो महान व्यक्तियों से कि आप अपना ग्लोबल प्रेजेंस कैसे बना सकते हैं एंड हाउ यू कैन कंट्रीब्यूट टू ओपन सोर्स एंड हाउ यू कैन स्टार्ट आउट विद इट. बहुत रेयरली मिलता है मौके. हाँ, एट लास्ट मुझे एक मौका मिला है, सो दैट्स वाई टू लूज इट आई केम हियर. सो before we start our discussion, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Vishal, please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure. I'm Vishal. I work for Force United Foundation. Uh,
Okay.
so I have been working here from almost 3 years. Mm, we started. So I'm the first employee, and we have directors, couple of directors, uh, Kailash from CTO and Rusha from Frappe.
Okay, I mean, can you just elaborate more on what does FOSS does in particular?
Yeah, sure. So we started Force United because we do not see much free and open source software coming out of India. We consume a lot. We have 100 plus billion-dollar valued startups in India, but nothing to the free and open source ecosystem. I
Yeah,
mean, contribution to the FOSS ecosystem.
yeah,
So, just to define FOSS, uh, it's program that we use to build any software. For example, we are using Google Meet right now, and a lot of dependencies are Google Meet have a lot of dependencies. With open source programs are being used to build this.
hmm,
It could be any languages, programming languages like Python, C, Java.
hmm.
So uh, with with the presence of more FOSS, uh, we empower more people, more developers in the ecosystem to build more, uh, build startups on top of existing FOSS softwares.
Okay, so basically what FOSS does is they collaborate with the open source contributors and create these softwares which can help other softwares. That's what you meant?
Correct. It's an ecosystem. So suppose you are cooking vegetable, right? I mean, you're cooking some vegetable, so
Hmm.
you just can't rely on few to, I mean, the more vegetables you have, the better more options you have to like play with, right?
Yeah,
Experiments to do with,
yeah, yeah.
more innovation to do it, right? So with limited software, with limited fast existing free and open source software,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I mean there'll be very little innovation. I mean that's a goal, to have more quality free and open source software in India, coming out of India. Projects like Wikipedia, Linux, there are a lot number of good projects, but none of them, I mean,
Originates from India.
recently a few projects has been started,
Mm-hmm.
projects like Hopscotch, you see. So yeah, that's the goal, to have projects on the scale of Wikipedia, Mozilla,
Okay.
Firefox.
I mean, yeah, there are many open source organizations from India which are actually, they scale on a global level. I mean, they have a potential, but they don't have enough contributors and, the
Exactly. We have
vision. Yeah.
potential. Every year, I mean, India is on the top of on the list, to produce CS engineers every year.
Yeah.
And of course, that means we have the potential to have more quality developers, engineers. So again, but there needs to be some, I mean, there has to have a revolution, right? Where we go and educate the students,
Yeah.
the next generation students to uh, come and, I mean, understand the FOSS and contribute, and somehow uh, India will become a hub of FOSS, quality FOSS uh, builders.
Yeah. And now coming to Siddharth. Hi, Siddharth.
Hey Lokesh, hi everyone. To quickly introduce myself, I am Siddharth Shivkumar. I work as the first party events coordinator at Major League Hacking. I'll get to what Major League Hacking is, but to talk a little bit about me, I come from Kerala, but I'm settled in Coimbatore as of now. I am a computer science engineer as well, like most of you listening to this and on the panel here. Started off as a typical engineer doing all coding stuff, as we call it, writing a lot of code in front of computer screens. Later transitioned. It's been 3 years already since I graduated. I can't believe it. But somewhere midway, I transitioned to a role that was more community facing. That's when uh, I got to work with some open source projects as well. Vishal has been doing more work in this field, and then I more transitioned towards events, is what we call it at Major League Hacking. So for now, if you wonder what I am doing, I work with these in-house events that Major League Hacking hosts. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and how do you like how did you start with it? Like कहाँ से आप मिले इस चीज़ को, इस कॉन्सेप्ट को?
यू मीन कहाँ पे मेजर लीग हैकिंग से मुलाकात हुई?
हाँ, like
कहाँ पे कम्युनिटी से मुलाकात हुई?
कहाँ पे मेजर एक्चुअली कहाँ पे कम्युनिटीज से मुलाकात हुई? दैट विल बी अ बेटर क्वेश्चन टू आंसर.
Okay. Um, so I think Vishal and I both share some part of the answer here. So interesting fact, both of us went to the same university. We know each other for 7 years.
7 years.
I think that very long time there. But
Great.
I'll add a little bit and then I'll pass it over to Vishal to continue that. So first year of college, I studied in the northern part of India. Even if my
Where in
parents,
northern part of India?
okay, I started my schooling in Gujarat, Ahmedabad specifically, and
Okay.
then completed my schooling in Jamshedpur, which is in Jharkhand,
Mm-hmm.
and then came back to Cochin. Both of us went to Cochin University of Science and Technology.
Okay, so your
So
native is
in
Kerala only?
yes,
Okay, nice.
so we came back here. I came back here for college, and when you come down from the north to the south, there is a considerable cultural shift that you would know.
Very true, Siddharth. I can really relate to you that. I
I'm sure
mean,
other folks
even I
listening.
have faced it, actually.
Exactly. And even for me, as someone who was kind of familiar with this culture, because I would come down here, spend time with my grandparents at least, so I knew a
But you're
little.
not that familiar to,
Exactly.
you have
Exactly.
just seen some glimpses and you're like, okay, इतना ही होता होगा. Then you
Exactly.
realize it's even more.
Right. And then both of us went to this university where there was active student politics. So the first day we walk into college, we see people with all political flags and wanting to have a strike for a particular reason. It was completely new for me. I'm sure it was for Vishal as well. And in that ecosystem, even if for me, I think यहाँ पे जितने भी लोग हम लोग तीनों हैं एंड देन whoever is going to listen to this later, हमारे लिए कंप्यूटर साइंस was जावा का कोड या सी प्लस प्लस या सी का कोड जो हमने 11th 12th में लिखा था,
हाँ.
और हमारे दिमाग में बस उतना था और उसके बेसिस पे हमने डिसाइड किया कि नहीं, हमें अब आगे कंप्यूटर साइंस इंजीनियर बनना है.
True.
सिमिलरली उसी लाइन पे मैंने भी शुरुआत की. मैं कॉलेज गया, मैंने शुरुआत की एंड देन जो मुझे वहाँ दिख रहा था वो यहाँ नहीं दिख रहा था. जो मेरे दिमाग में कंप्यूटर साइंस का आइडिया था वो यहाँ बिल्कुल भी नहीं था. तो इस ट्रांजिशन के बीच में आई वाज लुकिंग फॉर पीपल हु आई कैन टॉक टू, आई कैन explore safely with in the world of tech.
Yeah.
And then I fumbled upon this group, which was started by some of our seniors from university. This community, which was called Tinker Up at that time. They still call that. Sorry. So I was able to go connect with them because there were people coming from various backgrounds. They were welcoming, and that I would say was my start to communities. And that's when I really understood the value of peer-to-peer learning,
Yeah,
wherein
true.
you're not just dependent on three people that you see on stage who would come to teach you always, but you need to make people realize the importance of them also putting in an effort to learn something and go spread it to other people that you sit with on a daily
Yeah. I mean, I want to add to it. लाइक जब आप लोग पीयर टू पीयर करते हैं इंडिविजुअली जितना हम सीखते हैं पीयर टू पीयर से लाइक इट ग्रोस एक्सपोनेंशियली द लेवल ऑफ लर्निंग बिकॉज हमें और ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन आते हैं बिकॉज वी थिंक अबाउट दिस कॉन्स्टेंट क्वेश्चन ऑफ और क्या हो सकता है और कोई कुछ पूछ लेगा तो इसका मैं कैसे जवाब दूंगा दैट मेक्स आवर ब्रेन टू थिंक इन अ डिफरेंट वे एंड इवन गिव अ डीपर इंट्यूशन इन टू इट.
That is true.
Yeah.
And that I would say was my start to the community. But I think Vishal has something to add on to that on how our parallel lines grew to be the same line in the end.
Okay, so
Yeah.
quick question: you met in a in that community, or you guys were of the same class, from the same class?
So I was in information technology department.
Okay.
Siddharth comes from CS.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, we met during one of our event by CS, CS department, I guess. I mean, I do not remember exactly, but it must be one of the So there used to be a weekly event. What do we at 4, something at 4, right?
Session at 4.
Session at 4, yeah. So there used to be event by our seniors. It's called Session at 4, and we used to go and one day they organize. I mean, they keep a workshop on Android. Another day, some backend stack. So I mean, I do not remember honestly, but we must. So I think we started working together, or on same. I guess it was during the hackathon, right? Uh,
Should
During our tech fest, the college, tech fest, and we, I mean, and then I've so I mean, so just to give you a bit intro how I started. So day one in my college, my hostel mate, he was building something using C, on his turbo C++, and he was like, hey, देखो ये क्या बनाया मैंने. Okay, I was like,
Hmm.
wow, what is this? He's like, Google it. I'm like, dude, बताओ मुझे क्या है ये. So I've never heard of the term even coding programming. Okay,
Okay.
uh, I just jumped into college because I felt, okay, this might be the future of
Okay. So
everyone.
actually, when did you start coding? In which year of your college?
I mean, first year I used to go to like a peer-to-peer learning session organized by one of our senior. It's
Okay.
called Innovadin. So they introduced me to the for loop and all. I was like, wow, this thing is there. And then I started going away from that. So
Okay. You felt it's hard in
I
the
felt
beginning.
I could not like find a reason why I should practice this.
Ah,
I
makes
mean,
sense.
I
Makes
wanted a
sense.
reason. Okay, I wanted
Yeah.
a reason why I should go, and and never in my life before that I questioned anything. I was like, okay, you are supposed to learn trigonometry. I'm gonna okay, I'll do that. And then next year you are supposed to learn inverse trigonometry. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. क्यों कर रहा है? Never question. First
कुछ
semester of
सब्जेक्ट्स या
college.
कुछ सब्जेक्ट्स ऐसे ही होते पता नहीं चलता क्यों पढ़ना.
No, no, no. I mean, not good subject. I didn't question anything in my life before. I jumped into college. I was like, okay, why I'm studying this? Okay, I'm not gonna even get a degree here. I mean, I remember just going out, leaving classes, skipping classes, not even bothering about my semesters. Actually, I
Yeah.
have skipped few
एकदम
of my
chill,
semester
like
exams.
total chill.
हाँ, मतलब मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है ये क्यों चल रहा है. I won't do it. I
Okay,
won't.
so you went for IT branch because that's what you got, or you were interested in
Yeah, I mean,
study
so when
somewhere.
I was in Kota, right, for 2 years for my
Okay.
JEE preparation,
Hmm.
and I felt so I used to do a lot of analysis on internet. That's when I find out the power of internet. Okay, so I used to go to cafe, everybody around me playing games like 2 3
Hmm.
hours.
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna compete them, but with not the game, but with a lot of information. So I started finding out कि हर कॉलेज का सीन क्या है, प्लेसमेंट का कहाँ कितना पैसा मिलता है, कितने रैंक्स में मिलते हैं, all those like stuff that young amateur kids does, right? So and then I felt that okay, CS and IT is the field that might help me to get a job, better job. फिर जब मैं कॉलेज गया, आई हैव नो आइडिया, मेरे को पता भी नहीं कि मैं व्हाट्सएप यूज कर रहा हूँ तो इसके पीछे कितना मेहनत लगा. आई नेवर क्वेश्चन दैट.
Hmm. Nice. Exactly.
So that's how I started. I started like questioning, and that's when I find out there are a lot of communities out there. So back then in first year, Tinkerup was not active, because the senior who started this was part of, Kerala Startup Mission. Different. He was doing different job back then. And then there was Innovaden, which a peer-to-peer learning, group that lasted for 6 months, maybe around 8 9 months.
Yeah.
And I find out the power of, I mean, community. You go and get help. You ask any question. There are
And they
people
are
there.
happy to help as well.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
this meet itself.
Exactly. Hopefully, this might end up helping others, or I'll get help from you folks. Some
Ah,
some learnings, right?
maybe.
So and then, I mean, I used to go to. So I was somebody who never used other language than, my native Bhojpuri and Hindi. Okay,
Okay.
so
So
in
your
my
native place is Bihar.
yeah, my native place is Bihar.
I see.
So I went there, and then I become class rep, because my teacher asked me who wants to become class representative, and I got so excited with the whole title itself. I was like, I want to become class rep. And then thing of my life, then, I have no idea how to communicate, in English. किसी को
हाँ.
नहीं आती वहाँ, हिंदी मतलब कम लोगों को आती है, एज इन वी आर इन केरला. सो बहुत लोग को हिंदी नहीं आती वहाँ पे, जो लोकल से, राइट.
Hmm.
तो और बट मेरा एक पर्सनल टारगेट भी था, गोल भी था, कि मुझे इंग्लिश बोलना सीखना है. क्योंकि मुझे, अगर जब मैं काम कर रहा हूँगा तो मैं बोल नहीं पाऊंगा, तो अगर मैं बोल नहीं पाया तो मैं, हाउ वुड आई कोलैबोरेट, राइट, विद पीपल.
Mm-hmm. And what was
तो
your initiative?
I started using I started watching movies. I never heard of DC Marvel, okay, before I went to college.
Great initiative, to be honest. Really, movies and songs. I don't know the. I mean, I don't know about songs, but movies and shows that really helps.
Yeah, definitely. And one more secret, about my the way I learned English. So
Yeah.
एक app था तब, अभी वो बंद हो गया. It used to called Open Talk. So you
Okay.
just open it, install it, create an account, and then say, call somebody. It will just connect you with random people anywhere from the world, okay?
Mm-hmm. And it
And
was
so I
free.
met somebody from US, okay? She was from Minnesota. So she
Oh.
was in her class 12th studying, she used to ask questions about physics, her physics problems. For me, it was, very easy peasy, because the level of
Yeah,
physics we
you
studied.
came from Kota, I understand.
Yeah. And मेरे को लगता है ना कि उधर जो वो क्वेश्चन पूछती थी मैथ्स के भी, तो आई फेल्ट लाइक इट्स लाइक 10th स्टैंडर्ड, वो 12th में है, क्या कर रही है उधर.
Ah, yeah.
So
I guess then you might have used this sheg. Sheg. What I don't know what to how to pronounce it. Sheg कुछ होता है ना जहाँ पे those guys post their work assignments and we can solve them
No,
to earn their
not like
money.
that. I was not I was not looking into making money at all.
Hmm.
मेरे को बस लोगों से बात करना था, ज़्यादा टाइम स्पेंड करना था by
To
speaking
learn
English.
English.
Yeah, so that
Great.
she used to point out, hey, ये गलत है. So I spent like almost 6 months with her over call. Okay, so वो
Wow.
time difference था बहुत.
हाँ हाँ.
So I never, I think I didn't tell this anybody. So
कोई नहीं. काट दूंगा, edit कर दूंगा, don't worry.
so that helped me a lot. And and I find a way. Actually, I had a hack to the whole process. मैं हर रोज
Great
4
way
बजे
though.
किसी से बात कर रहा हूँ इंग्लिश में, and she is actually, listening to me. That was the greatest help I got.
I guess उसे भी कुछ हिंदी सिखा दिया होगा आपने.
No, उसने मुझे बहुत सारा गलत इंग्लिश सिखाया. गलत as in गलत वर्ड सिखाया मुझे.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But great.
So
Actually,
I was very like uh, obedient guy. So उसने मुझे सिखाया, you should be, like, not good to everybody.
like you're that what's his name? Arjun Kapoor from Half Girlfriend.
Oh God,
In a
no.
way.
I'm not. I want to have that much muscles though.
Yeah, but that was a great thing. And you getting into FOSS, how was it? Like, how did you approach? Like, how FOSS happened to you?
So I mean, when somebody asks me FOSS, right? I mean, so kabhi I do not give the answer from the software angle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So FOSS is a philosophy to me, okay? So हम लोग अभी बात कर रहे हैं, right? 4 लोग, 100 लोग, 1000 लोग, 10,000 लोग सुनेंगे इसे, and they learn from it, right? So what we are doing here is creating something which will end up helping a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So for me, FOSS started when I, started joining community, which I realized later कि वो FOSS था, the philosophy, FOSS philosophy, not a software. I used to go to these events, Let's say the girl who helped me to learn English, right? So she helped me basically, and all these open source, I mean the tech events that used to happen in Kochi, like GDG का हुआ, Facebook Dev Circles होता था, Tinker Hub, Innova Den, केरला स्टार्टअप मिशंस के बहुत सारे इवेंट्स होते थे. I used to go there. I mean, I was like, the moment I start questioning to everything I do, I have a lot of question. I mean, I'm curious about everything कि ये क्यों हो रहा है, इन्हें पैसा क्यों मिला, मतलब स्टार्टअप्स, केरला स्टार्टअप में इन्हें इतना पैसा क्यों दिया. uh, ये मतलब, so there was a college group. I mean, there was a startup funded by IEDC. IEDC is a initiative by Kerala Startup Mission to fund students, entrepreneurs to build something.
And when was it? Which year it was?
ये चल रहा है 2017-18.
Great, Kerala is
Second year of my
actually doing
college.
good. I mean, उस time पे ही, like getting those initiatives to support startups.
I can vouch for it because मुझे भी मिला था पैसा.
Okay. मुझे नहीं
What
मिला,
did you do?
मुझे नहीं मिला था, एंड देन आई वाज लाइक आस्क क्वेश्चनिंग कि मुझे क्यों नहीं मिला. आई मीन, so but a friend of mine got it. तो आई फेल्ट कि so I mean that's where the hunting started कि लोगों को क्यों मिलता है, लोग क्यों रिजेक्ट होते हैं, राइट. आई मीन सिद्धार्थ कैन आंसर कि इसको क्यों मिला था. आई कैन आंसर मुझे क्यों नहीं मिला था.
Okay, so Siddharth, what's your answer for this?
क्यों मिला था, मैं ये बता सकता हूँ कि क्या किया था मिलने के लिए. तो बेसिकली वहाँ कॉन्सेप्ट ये था कि हर सेमेस्टर या हर साल कुछ n नंबर ऑफ प्रोजेक्ट्स को वो सेलेक्ट करते हैं, एंड देन एवरीबॉडी गेट्स अ टोटल ऑफ 1 लाख रुपीस
या
एज अ पायलट फंड. बट देन
Okay.
दैट ब्रोकन अप, एक साथ 1 लाख रुपए नहीं मिलेंगे. यू गेट अ फर्स्ट इंस्टॉलमेंट ऑफ 10,000, फिर 20, ऐसा ऐसा ब्रेकडाउन होता था बेस्ड ऑन योर परफॉर्मेंस एंड
And they care less about it कि आप क्या कर रहे हो, उन्हें फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
you owe nothing to them, but you are called back for these reviews and check. अगर तुमने पहला जो फंड मिला उससे रिव्यू चेक पास किया, only then you get the second half of
एंड
it.
फंडिंग भी आपको आपके प्रोजेक्ट पे मिलेगा ना, बेस्ड ऑन द PPT और वॉट एवर यू डू टू प्रेजेंट द आइडिया.
उसको एक स्टार्टअप बनाने की साइकिल भी सोचो. बिकॉज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, थोड़ा आई वुड लाइक टू टॉक अबाउट दैट. सो यूजुअली जब तुम किसी स्टार्टअप के बारे में सोचना शुरू करो तो द फर्स्ट इज द आइडिएशन फेज, जहाँ पे you form a team, you start with an idea, and then you kind of create an image of what you want to build in your mind, and then prepare yourself to be talking to people about the image that you have in mind, along the lines that they are convinced in what you are telling them.
राइट,
Getting them
ऑलराइट.
sold, right? तो पहला स्टेज वो था हमारे लिए कि हम वो करें, हम उनको कन्विंस करें कि हम ऐसा कुछ करना चाह रहे हैं, एंड देन काइंड ऑफ गेट देम एक्टिवेटेड कि हाँ ये हो सकता है. तो पहला फंड तुम्हें वहां से मिलेगा. अब एक स्टार्टअप की प्रोसेस में सेकंड राउंड होता है. तो दिस इज बेसिकली दैट राउंड ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट रेजिंग व्हिच इज कॉल्ड प्री सीड.
Pre-seed, yeah.
आइडिया के बारे में मिल रहा है. मतलब ये जो टर्म्स में बोल रहा हूँ वो डायरेक्टली आईईडीसी के कल्चर में नहीं है, बट देन जस्ट फॉर एक्सप्लेनेशन दिस इज
बट एक्चुअली स्टार्टअप, आई मीन पीपल हु आर वाचिंग शार्क टैंक, अभी तो खत्म हो गया, सीजन 3 अगर आएगा तो दीज टर्म्स विल हेल्प यू मेक श्योर.
करेक्ट. So that's how pre-seed works. Now,
Yeah.
pre-seed के बाद you start building a prototype
Then
of what
seed
you
A
have.
comes, right? If
Then
I'm
comes
not
seed.
wrong. Yeah.
Seed में तुम basically तुम्हारे पास एक working product होगा जो कि some amount of उसमें तुमने plan कर लिया हो कि क्या क्या features launch होने वाले हैं, कैसे तुम monetize करने वाले हो, but then you have not started generating money typically. And then उसके बाद आता है series A, series B, series C, जहाँ पे वो different phases of your company growth. Right?
Series वाला phase is the last thing, right? Last phase.
हाँ, but series A से शुरू होता है, and then there are companies that have gone to series E and F, crazy
Okay.
valuation and crazy money raising. Well, that's a
I
different
mean, if
story.
they raise the valuation, तब we call it कि series वहाँ तक गए.
हाँ,
वरना उसके बिना भी they like manage to get to that valuation point, right?
correct. Another bootstrap बोलो. Another Shark Tank reference here is bootstrap. एक
Yeah.
bootstrap company वो होती है जहाँ पे तुमने अपनी इक्विटी कहीं बेची नहीं है.
वही
तुम
सब
I don't
अपने
think-
आप सब
नहीं
अपने
किया.
दम पे ही
I
करके
don't think
किया.
इसको वो करेंगे एक्सप्लेन, क्योंकि वहाँ जो आ रहे हैं वो bootstrap से कहीं दूर है.
Exactly. तो हाँ, I mean valuation doesn't really directly relate to कितना पैसा रेस किया है, but then वो भी एक form of calculation बन गया अभी, क्योंकि getting away from the conversation here, but if you've been following ये startup growth वगैरह on Twitter and LinkedIn, either of you can tell me if you have, तुम ये देख रहे होगे कि हमेशा न्यूज़ आजकल इस बारे में होता है कि किस कंपनी ने कितना मनी रेज किया है.
रेज किया. हाँ हाँ,
And
आई हैव
we've
ऑब्जर्व्ड इट.
and
लाइक
we've started
लास्ट टाइम मैंने जब देखा, इट वाज ऑफ बाइजूस कि उन्होंने like 1 billion, 1 billion, I guess, if I'm not wrong.
Byju's is a bad example here. But we're going to take different other examples. जहाँ पे, I mean, you're correct when you tell me that जहाँ पे valuation of a company is directly now proportional to how much you have raised, and we are celebrating somebody selling their equity and raising money,
Hmm.
which doesn't have to be like that. The whole
Which doesn't
concept,
make sense also. I mean, if
correct,
we think in an intellectual way, that doesn't make sense.
करेक्ट. अब वो आई मीन इट्स, वो कुछ ऐसा हो गया कि पहले हम यूनिकॉर्न्स को सेलिब्रेट करते थे, विच मीन्स दे हैव हैड अ 100 million dollar का कुछ वैल्यूएशन एंड दे हैव डन सो मेनी
1,000. Yeah.
100,
1000.
1,000 is 1 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
That's
one
the
billion
unicorn.
dollars valuation is a unicorn.
Correct, you know the math. So we used to celebrate that, right? अभी
हाँ.
फिलहाल इतना पैसा रेस किया है, that's being celebrated, which I don't, for me it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there'll be people who can tell
Do you
us
think it'll affect anything for the future entrepreneurs who is going to come in? Like they'll be running towards the funds they're gonna raise rather than thinking about what they can do to the community or society.
शार्क टैंक रेफरेंस अगेन, तुमने देखा होगा कि कंपनीज कम एंड टेल यू कि उन्होंने प्री इनकम इतने वैल्यूएशन
हाँ,
पे मनी
एक्चुअली
कर दिया.
वो वाला मैथ मुझे समझ नहीं आता कि प्री प्री इनकम नहीं तो प्री मनी विच दे
प्री
कॉल.
मनी, हाँ.
हाँ,
बेसिकली ऐसा सोच लो कि व्हेनेवर दे रेज एनी काइंड ऑफ कैपिटल,
सेल्स
तो
कुछ
वहाँ
नहीं किया होता तो प्री मनी होता है.
प्री मनी एग्जैक्टली उनका
हाँ.
उनके उनका जो, okay, this is getting complicated, but we'll leave that for
Yeah.
everybody's
Yeah. I guess
homework
we are
here.
going towards
अरे
it.
We'll leave that for everybody's homework here. But
yeah.
TLDRS, this is how IDC also worked, but did not use all these
Guys,
terms.
if you want, I have actually collected a bunch of articles and used ChatGPT to learn few things. मेरे पास है वो collection. I'll ping you the links. No
You
problem.
should.
Check in the description.
You should. Financial literacy has to be much more than what we have right now. But coming back to IDC, my first phase is when you sell the idea to them. Second is when you have a prototype. Third, you tell them how you're going to scale this.
Hmm.
You have started to get some paying customers or non-paying customers. It's often non-paying customers, to be honest.
Like doesn't matter ना, कुछ threshold value of customers तो नहीं आना चाहिए ना.
Nice. So
And
it's a very open-ended thing, and the whole idea of, so IEDC is short for Innovation and Entrepreneurship
And development
Development
skill.
Center.
development.
Yeah. The whole idea of this is to make the concept of entrepreneurship accessible to students. That's where it started. But we were lucky. We in our university we had another incubator, which was a complete proper incubator for student startups, where you had a space, you have internet, you have.
Yeah, even our college has started a new incubator where they can, develop ideas. They got this big 3D printers and they got some other machineries. I don't know what they call it.
Mm. That's probably a hardware lab or a fab lab that you're talking about. They
Yeah,
usually call fab
C,
lab.
I guess Idea Lab, they said, if I'm not wrong. I don't
Okay.
know. I am not much involved into that thing lately.
But those are amazing initiatives that we were lucky to have. I don't think हमसे दो तीन बैचेस पहले को उन्हें कभी ये अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं मिला होगा.
True.
हम काफी लकी थे कि हम जब आए थे तो वो काफी पॉजिटिव ट्रांजिशन के सब्जेक्ट रहे थे हम लोग, which was nice. But that's how IDC worked. तो हमने क्या किया था, we were a group of three people, wherein again first year second year students, जहाँ पे हमको लगता है कि जो हम सोच रहे हैं वही असली प्रॉब्लम है. And then we were like, यहाँ मेरे सामने ये प्रॉब्लम है कि लोगों को मेडिसिन वही मिल रहे हैं जो उनको डॉक्टर्स लिख के दे रहे हैं. तो बेसिकली डॉक्टर्स गिव यू अ ब्रांड नेम एंड केमिकल नेम, कुछ और भी बोलते हैं, there's a different word for it, but basically they don't write paracetamol. They I think now write, but usually they don't write paracetamol. They end up writing a name of a brand, let's say Calpol or Dolo, whatever it is, and then you, with lack of knowledge, are sold to buying that. You only know of that. तुम जाते हो, तुम prescription दिखाते हो, you ask for that particular thing. बट हमारा आइडिया ये था कि वी वुड वांट पीपल टू बी एजुकेटेड ऑन दैट ग्राउंड, वेर इन अगर तुम्हारे इसमें किसी ने लिख दिया, किसी डॉक्टर ने लिख दिया है कि तुम्हें डोलो लेना है, तो यू गो टाइप डोलो एंड देन वी टेल यू अबाउट कि इसका केमिकल नेम क्या है एंड देन व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट ऑल्टरनेटिव्स.
Great.
राइट.
Okay.
हमने वहाँ शुरू की थी, बट देन वी थॉट ऑफ इट अ लॉट मोर. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा सोचने पे भी आइडिया खराब हो जाता है, ऐसा तुमने सोचा होगा, मैंने एक्सपीरियंस किया है। तो हमने उसे इतना कॉम्प्लिकेट किया कि हम उसे एक पॉइंट ऑफ सेल सॉफ्टवेयर बनाएंगे जिसमें इन्वेंट्री मैनेजमेंट हो पाएगा, वेयर पीपल कैन लोक एट ये मेडिसिन कहाँ पे अवेलेबल होगा, वगैरह 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 वगैरह। इट गॉट वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड फॉर आवर स्किल
एग्जैक्ट
सेट।
आई मीन एक पर्टिकुलर एक दूसरे पर्सपेक्टिव से देखे, लाइक फ्रॉम अ हायर पर्सपेक्टिव, तो पीपल डोंट रियली वांट टू नो कि उसका असली नाम क्या है एंड ऑल, दे जस्ट वांट लाइक बाय फ्रॉम द, लाइक दे वांट टू नो ब्रांड कितना अच्छा है.
दैट्स करेक्ट। अब अगर आई थिंक एक अभी गवर्नमेंट का एक इनिशिएटिव है केरला में, आई डोंट नो पॉपुलरली बाहर कहाँ पे, बट देन दे हैव दीज लोकल ब्रांड्स को वो लोग प्रमोट करते हैं एंड दे सेल इट फॉर अ वेरी सब्सिडाइज्ड प्राइस। दे क्लेम कि इसका एकदम सेम एफिकेसी रेट होता है, बट देन दैट्स अगेन डिबेटेबल। और जहाँ पे सरकारी शब्द जुड़ जाता है वहाँ पे लोगों का ट्रस्ट बहुत कम हो जाता है।
That too,
दैट
especially in India, it's way low.
Exactly. So there have been efforts, but I don't think we were successful, right? But that's what we tried doing. I think पहला दूसरा कुछ हमें ये मिला था, अमाउंट मिला था, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर एग्जैक्टली कितना था। वी वेंट टॉक टू पीपल एंड देन उन्होंने हमें बताया, मतलब फार्मेसी में जाके हमने बात की, उन्होंने बताया कि नहीं, ये तुम जो सोच रहे हो इसकी शुरुआत सही थी, पर तुम जहाँ तक उसको ले आए हो ये सही नहीं जा रहा है। एंड देन लाइफ हैपेंड, हमने काफ़ी दूसरी चीज़ें प्रायोरिटाइज की एंड दैट वाज द एंड ऑफ इट।
ग्रेट. ओके, सो बहुत बात कर लिया बिजनेस के बारे में, बट एनीवे, अगर इन्फॉर्मेटिव लगा तो लाइक कर दो यार, सब्सक्राइब ऑल्सो. आई एम वेरी न्यू टू दिस थिंग, सो एनीवे कर देना लाइक. तो अभी कमिंग टू नेटवर्किंग इन अ कॉलेज वेयर there are very few like-minded people, which we usually call tier 3 colleges, जहाँ पे like community को join करना, community with like-minded people in technical industries, especially for a CS student, it's hard initially तो, but then they later on realize कि उनके college में कुछ नहीं है रखा, they need to find people online, and some people like luckily few of them, लाइक कुछ लोगों को जैसे आपके केस में कॉलेज में ही मिल जाते हैं, बट यूजुअली इट्स हार्ड टू फाइंड पीपल. सो व्हाट डू यू से, लाइक आर देयर एनी कम्युनिटीज फॉर दीज बिगिनर्स हु कैन लाइक लर्न हाउ टू इंटरेक्ट, बिकॉज यूजुअली केसेस में क्या होता है, एवरीबडी, like there are few blogs which shows 20 plus communities which you can join and blah blah, but actually देखा जाए तो they are not that productive when they get into those communities. So like what are your strategies to get into a particular community which is much suitable for you?
Is this question for me?
It's for both of you, like, because you both are doing good with networking, so one
Okay.
after the other.
So I mean,
Vishal.
I didn't complete the last question you asked. So I'll just
I'm,
I'll
okay,
end
okay.
that and then start answering
Sure,
this
sure,
question.
sure, sure, sure.
So and then I found out that there are community out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I go and interact with them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough that we had a culture. I mean, some community of developers in Cochin. Uh, so I had the opportunity to learn and learn from them and somehow end up in a somehow get and end up having a job which is something I always wanted.
Hmm.
So, but I went to Nagpur yesterday. Okay, I was in Nagpur and uh, I find out that the students over there are struggling to have a community. I mean, or join a community where there are people who are in the industry or have experience. Okay, so Nagpur is is a it's a big town, but there's no culture there. I mean, Maharashtra itself have Pune, Mumbai, right? So whatever tech is in Maharashtra, it's in Pune and Mumbai.
Hmm.
So they don't have any. So I went to this tier three college, and they were saying, okay, we do not have anything. I mean, these people are from Google Developer Students Club.
Hmm. Hmm.
So there were a lot of leads there
Hmm.
from these GDSCs. So I feel like if even though you might not have culture in, I mean, or a community in your city, always you can like you can always so like we were talking about peer to peer learning, right? That would be
Hmm.
one good start where you might end up learning a lot. Let's say there are five people who are going to learn the concept of oops, right?
Hmm.
uh, So we might end up, let's say we'll say, okay, we're going to learn one topic, all of us, and next week we're going to teach
I mean,
the
Vishal, I want to interrupt. I mean, how are these peer-to-peer events organized in your college? Like, how do they organize?
Okay,
Uh,
so I was talking about oops, right? So we'll decide these five topics we are going to discuss in the next meeting.
like, who will decide? The organizers?
No, all of us. There is no hierarchy here. I mean,
Okay, it's
five
open-ended.
students.
Anyone can
Yeah,
join in.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say there are five students from my batch or from the college are planning to start something. Start a club or learning culture in
Hmm.
college.
Hmm.
So we'll say, okay, let's start with whatever topics. Let's say database. Okay, so we'll say, okay, we are gonna pick this topic, and all of us are gonna teach the rest. Okay, whatever I have learned,
I
individually.
mean, is this a club thing where you guys
No,
come up
I'm,
with?
I'm just giving an idea.
Okay,
You
okay.
can you can later, make this a club. Like create a club and say this is happening under this club.
Yeah, I guess your college is much open to these fresh ideas and fresh clubs.
This was not from our college. Okay, uh,
Okay.
I was volunteering for an organization, for a community of women only community.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Pehia.
Okay.
So I used
Is
to
that
like,
a Kerala word? What is
yeah,
a
it's a,
Malayalam
no,
word? Okay.
Pehia is Pehla. It's a, I guess, Sanskrit word.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's a Sanskrit word, or I don't think it's Malayalam. So it's a community where girls, so there are a group of girls from Cochin and nearby, Kottayam, few other districts. They come
Hmm.
together on once in a while, and they decide online that this is what we are going to learn, all of us, and they'll come and give a presentation about what they have learned. Let's say 10 minutes. Everyone will give 10 minutes presentation,
Hmm.
and everybody will end up learning a lot of topics, right? Because I was supposed to learn this, and I'll end up teaching the same topic to five others.
Hmm. 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 Got
So
it.
that's what I will suggest to the people who are in tier 3 college. Pick, or find out those curious, interested people who are willing to learn, and start doing this peer to peer learning
Actually,
sessions.
I mean, for tier 3 college students, it's actually that's the hard part where they need to find people to, teach and stuff. I guess they can join online communities for that. What do you say about that? So that, what's your view?
Just to add to what Vishal was saying earlier, I think um, we've been mostly looking for people at the wrong places. I'm going to divert a little bit here, wherein right now I see people looking for inspiration or looking for guidance on social media,
Mm-hmm.
which is not a platform meant for that.
Okay.
I don't think you should be using. You can use Twitter for um, showcasing what you have been doing or meeting people who have uh, been doing the same things or have been going to the same events like you, connecting with them. That's all good. But
Agree. Yeah.
I don't think that's the starting point of you going and asking somebody for suggestions right out of nowhere. Or if you have questions specifically labeled out, you can go to them with that. But you can't start with a hi and then tell them that you come from a tier three or a tier two college. What do I do with my life?
True. True. On
Not
really.
how it should work. I'm speaking from my personal experiences. I've had people come to me like that, but uh, since I know what's going through their mind because I've been there, done that, lived that, I go back to them and I explain how things work. But uh, for someone who receives a lot of DMs, they might not be able to get back to you, right? I
Yeah.
think if you're looking for people in your circle, in your college, in your seniors, that should be a good start. If not, you should probably look for people who have graduated from your college because those are people who have lived what you're living right now and probably in a very worse scenario. Things have definitely gotten better by the time you got there. Your seniors might not have had that privilege. Uh, as an example, I think Vishal and I, both of us would be very happy if someone from our college got back to us saying they face something of these lines and they need some help setting up something or randomly just connecting with someone. We'd be more than happy to connect with them.
Hmm.
Whereas someone randomly getting to us from a random university asking us for a lot of help, we might want to prioritize other things on our list. Not because we don't want to support other colleges, but we want to also prioritize things and work that are happening in our life, right?
Yeah. So you're saying.
I'm saying alumni is also a very, very big, important chunk of college life, which we don't tap on. Not at all. Our college also did not.
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
it's like,
and moreover, actually, that makes sense. What Siddharth told, that using a little common sense and empathizing with the person you're talking to, and knowing his situation, and approaching them in that perspective will help actually. And I'd completely agree with that point of reaching out for help on Twitter. Uh, is not that efficient as compared to some Discord communities where actually people are there to help you, like they are actually there for communicating, like collaborating. In the meantime, they find people who want help, and they give suggestions to those people, which I faced it. Like people come to me, like I joined a community recently which was of Python developers. And जब कभी भी फ्री टाइम मिलता था, द मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम मैं उनके वहाँ पे छोटे छोटे ऐसे डाउट्स सॉल्व करता था. लाइक मीन दोज वर वेरी बेसिक डाउट्स. एंड सडनली अ गाय केम टू मी एंड सेड, आपके ब्लॉग्स पढ़े मैंने, ग्रेट वर्क, व्हाट डू यू डू. ऐसे टाइम पे दैट मेक्स सेंस. वही अगर ट्विटर में ऑल ऑफ अ सडन लाइक कोई आ जाए एंड टॉक, that doesn't make any sense. But LinkedIn also is a nice platform to reach people. But if आपके questions, you got the right questions, instead of like discussing it, you just ask a straight away question. That will make more sense when reaching people on LinkedIn.
I'll actually comment something on this. So
Yeah.
I feel as a beginner, it's very draining to like, I mean, see, when I was in college, I used to think 100 times before I ask some question from somebody who has who's working.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for
Hmm.
me, I'm gonna think 100 times, that okay, उसके पास टाइम होगा नहीं होगा, ये क्वेश्चन
हाँ.
स्टूपिड तो साउंड नहीं कर रहा है. ऑल दीज थिंग्स कम, राइट? आई मीन यू कैन जस्ट से हे, रीच आउट टू मी. यू माइट, आई मीन 10% लोग हो सकते हैं, बट इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मास, राइट? So I don't think this will, we might end up helping people with this, कि हाँ reach out करो. Okay, they know कि ये this is the person who might help, but जो मैं क्वेश्चन फ्रेम करने वाला हूँ वो उसको समझ में आएगा वो,
Hmm.
मतलब he might end up like कि अरे यार हटाओ, ये क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं आ रहा है मेरे को,
True.
just ignore. उसके बाद the person who might wanted to help, वो he'll end up ignoring everybody कि वो फिर बहुत टाइम जा रहा है, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like the in-person interaction works best. Let's say बैंगलोर में कुछ इवेंट हो रहा है, go there, और आसपास जो भी शहर है, go there, interact with people. You'll end up having more confidence कि हाँ तुम अगली बार जाके उनसे reach out करोगे, right? या फिर you'll get some ideas कि before you ask question, do some research on that कि मुझे start करना है, let's say how I can contribute to, let's say, open map data, okay, OSM. So बहुत लोग, या फिर Wikipedia, कि मुझे I want to be Wikipedia contributor, right? People might have any kind of crazy things to do, right? मैं बहुत ही niche contributions की बात कर रहा हूँ, niche चीज़ों की. So you end up researching how can I start learning, anything, right? As a Python. So they'll end up having, seeing a lot of results on Google or YouTube, right? I believe people should do research ki, which will actually make them more confident ki, when they actually reach out to them, and with question being framed well and genuine question being asked.
Yeah.
I don't want to answer to a question कि how can I start with Python, right? I don't want to start that. I want the
हाँ.
people कि वो कुछ अपना effort डालें.
Prerequisites, unke prerequisites, they get their prerequisites right, and then ask a more intellectual question. I mean, like actually beginner lage, as if ऐसा नहीं कि he's just he got an idea and he just
Yeah,
reached out.
yeah.
Like,
The TLDR here is do your homework before you ask questions. But again, do not be afraid of asking questions because विशाल ने point out किया कि वो एक beginner fear is a real thing. I can completely relate to it.
even I can relate. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. So there are two perspectives of looking into this. जो हमने भी narrate किया, that's us narrating how we feel when somebody approaches us, right? On the other hand, वो beginner fear is the other end of the spectrum. So for you, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा? You will not get a reply from 2 people. they probably say no. They probably not even reply. They'll
Or
just
they
leave.
end up replying nothing. Yeah, exactly.
But you have nothing to lose that way.
Yeah.
For you can just go around. I'm not encouraging spamming of any sense, but agar if you've been able to filter down a list of people, don't go to random people and ask questions. I think you need to first identify कि इसमें तुम्हें कौन help कर सकता है, and then do you have a common string that connects both of you. जैसा university was a point that I brought out, alumni होना वगैरह वगैरह,
Mm-hmm.
वो फाइंड आउट करो, एंड देन उस लाइंस पे अगर तुम उनसे बात कर पा रहे हो तो देयर आर मोर चांसेस ऑफ यू गेटिंग एन आंसर, बट डोंट बी अफ्रेड टू आस्क क्वेश्चंस.
Yeah.
True,
And
true, true. Yeah.
and my next topic of discussion would be uh, like making that online presence. Like when a guy learns a new stuff, new things through online, and how will it like resonate his presence by sharing it on Twitter or writing few blogs on it. Do you think it's much efficient on creating new networks and showing that you're more credible, like your credibility, increasing your credibility online? Like, how do you support that point?
um, I have views that are not very similar to what you just explained. For me, I don't think, I'm someone who believes that I don't have to be evaluated based on the number of people following me or
Mm-hmm.
based on the number of posts or tweets that I've put out on Twitter, for example. Speaking of which, this is very controversial, I know, but I think we have developed a culture wherein we have a hero culture uh, setup right now, wherein we see someone who's probably made a couple of international trips, and then we end up following whatever they tell us. We don't understand that the circumstances were very different on what both of us were brought in or how things work for each other. But for me, on the other hand, building in public or showing off what you've done in public can mean writing blogs, because that's not where you go ahead and boast about or you show off what you have done, but you're writing things down for anybody to figure it out and read through it.
Yeah,
You are
and so
still,
that like they can't, they should not face the same problem you have faced in
yeah,
your.
you have that data in public or content in public, but for me, it's a thin line between showing off way too much and putting out what you have done in life. The second can be you building your portfolio website. There's nobody stopping you to do experiments with your portfolio website and you going and putting down your portfolio website everywhere. Now, I would want to give everybody a quick hack on how you can have better SEO for your portfolio website if you're still in college, and you have make sure that you are able to connect with all the organizing teams or get your way into every organizing team of every event that happens in your college. What we would a couple of us we used to do was we had our portfolio website ready, and whenever there's a fest happening, we'd have our URL link, our portfolio link commented and put into the GitHub repository where the live code is, which is used for deployment of this website. Now what happens is every time people visit is, even if this is commented, that gains certain amount of SEO traction, your link.
Okay,
You do that for 10 different fests, and at the end of 11th fest, you go Google your name or some sort of URL, you'll
you'll be in
find
top.
your portfolio coming up on the top, which is something I have done, and I know a couple of my friends also have been doing for the past. But yeah,
Any events, na events of any sort, like
it
online
can be
events
any,
भी चलेगा.
it can be anything. For example, let's say you've remotely just been involved with the code or the event. Now go to the code base of it, just put up a comment there and write down your URL there. It's not going to be visible publicly, so there's no harm you're doing to the event, but it's doing very good, very much of an advantage for you to boost your SEO if you'd want to do that. That's a hack that I used to do. I just wanted to point it out. But for me, again, coming back to your question, uh, uh, building in public or building a global portfolio, if that was your question, would not mean using Twitter heavily to show off every single thing that I'm doing, because after a while it gets annoying to everybody around you. But I would say blogs and portfolio would be something that I would encourage people to do, Vishal.
I
Just to
mean,
clarify, sharing thoughts and showing off what you did are two different things. Okay,
That
so
is,
make
yes.
sure
People
like
don't
both are not
understand that.
same. Yeah.
I mean, as a human, right, we have a tendency to exploit every good thing right out there.
Hmm.
So, I
Agree.
mean, back then when blogs started, right, people used to, I mean, or even Twitter, right, people used to talk about meaningful stuff, right? But then same happens on Instagram, right? Then people started, seeing some business ideas, some money making model through this. And now, see people show off that, okay, we have got 10K, I mean, I have got 10K followers, 20K followers, right? So the idea, I mean, again, I do not know the why the author of Twitter, started this. Uh, but the intention must not be to like have a platform where people come and show off. Hey, I have got 20K uh, followers or 100K followers, and put some random thing which is not adding any value to the ecosystem, right? Somebody want to see the Apple Cupertino, they'll go and Google search it, or search on some other search engine, but won't you posting about something which doesn't add value. I mean, just another way, I mean, just another thing which humans are exploiting, or abusing, basically, I mean, as a platform. So I mean, yeah, we should talk, we should share stuff which might help, might end up helping others, but not something which again spam others, right? Let's say I
Yeah,
follow.
like too common content is also not feasible to the people.
And you'll
Yeah.
lose out on all the connections you have made. I know people who have personally unfollowed people for random things that they put out, random motivational goals that they would want to share every now and then. And we looking at it, you know that they're doing this just to gain more followers, because that's how you gain followers. Every other blog or every other vlog that you watch on YouTube about gaining followers says it, that you go post something that's very catchy,
Yeah.
right? That's a clickbait essentially.
Yeah.
And you would see it. And every other connection that you have had, if speaking of myself, if you were connected to me and I see you doing that every now and then, I'd go and unfollow, unmatch instantly, because I don't want you on my profile, because you're spoiling my area of social network. And I've had to do that both on Twitter and LinkedIn, because it gets polluted to an extent where you get irritated of that platform completely. Sorry, Vishal, go ahead.
No. Yeah, I had a hack where I just unfollowed everybody on LinkedIn, so I do not follow anyone.
Yeah, a part of my life in second year was to create more and more connections in LinkedIn, accepting every other request which I was getting. And then later I realized इतना तो ज़रूरी भी नहीं है यार, like क्या है, कुछ फ़ायदा ही नहीं है इन सब का.
Few meaningful
हाँ,
connections.
few meaningful
Well,
connections make sense, but
yeah.
every other guy who is sending you the request आजकल तो now that I've got much wiser sense, that's why I'm like important connections को ही target करके I just connect to them, and if
But
happens
but
we just talk.
but there is another side, right? I mean, let's say people listen to this podcast and end up, following us or requesting us to, follow what we are talking about, what we are sharing on LinkedIn or Twitter. It's not a bad idea, right, to accept that follow, or even, I mean, or just following people, who might who put some good content out there.
Yeah, like
The
follow
idea
is
is,
fine. Yeah.
yeah, the idea is there are few people who know the, let's say you Siddharth was talking about, just वही content copy करते हैं या फिर कहीं से लाके same अलग frame किया और put किया, right? So what happens is, I mean, we have done few events, right? I mean, in India, the FOSS events, and we see people, like say, I mean, or share things which is very much catchy. Let's say ki I was in this big college, okay, I talked about this thing, I'll end up having 50 lakh job by contributing to FOSS, which actually attract a lot to the beginners, or tier 3 college students, right? So this is something which again we do not have control over. So I mean, again, it's up to the students to realize that whom they are following, and whether, I mean, again, students are very amateur, right? They do not, they can't find, I mean, differentiate who
Yeah,
is
yeah,
right
yeah.
and whom should I follow, right?
Like
That,
जहाँ से हवा आ रहा है वहीं से ऐसे flow रहे हैं.
नहीं
yeah.
बह जाओ, हाँ.
वही.
ये at this point I would want to add something else over here, which I've tried out personally for myself, and I keep telling people, which is, तुम जब फर्स्ट ईयर या सेकेंड ईयर में हो ना कॉलेज में, दिस इज अ सेफ स्पेस फॉर यू फॉर 4 years. तो जैसे 10th में होते हो तो तुम्हें टेंशन रहता है कि तुम 11th 12th में क्या करोगे, कि तुम्हें कोटा जाना है, जैसे विशाल गया था, तो उस डर में रहते हो तुम 1-2 साल. 11th में तुम्हें 12th का डर रहता है, 12th में तुम्हें कॉलेज का डर रहता है, पर उसके बाद के जो तुम्हारे 4 साल में एटलीस्ट 3 साल होते हैं ना, उस 3 साल में तुम एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हो और कोई तुम्हें ईयरली तुमसे रिकॉर्ड या रिजल्ट नहीं मांगता यूजुअली। तुम्हारे रिजल्ट्स जो है वो तुम्हारे घर वाले देखना चाहते हो वगैरह वगैरह, दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग। बट तुम्हारा ये 4 साल का एंड होता है 4th ईयर में जब तुम प्लेसमेंट लेते हो, एंड दैट्स अ बिगर गोल दैट पीपल आस्क यू फॉर, राइट? बट जनरली 3 साल तुम्हारे पास काफी ईजी है जहाँ पे तुम कुछ भी कर सकते हो, तुम टाइम भी वेस्ट कर सकते हो, तुम अपने लिए भी कुछ कर सकते हो।
Yeah.
डू यू
सो
थिंक
व्हाट
लाइक कॉलेज लाइफ में अगर 3 साल कुछ किया नहीं है, लाइक एक साल ऑफ लेना आफ्टर योर कॉलेज without looking for any jobs or stuff, you are like working on your skills and growing it, लोड नहीं लेना, लाइक व्हाट डू यू थिंक कैसे लोगों को ड्रॉप लेना चाहिए कॉलेज से, लाइक आई मीन ड्रॉप एज इन लाइक फॉर अ ईयर दे आर टेकिंग ऑफ rather than just hunting for jobs, they are like taking off for improving their skills.
आई थिंक इसके साथ एक और जो क्वेश्चन काफी अच्छे से जाता है वो ये है कि क्या मार्क्स इम्पोर्टेंट है कॉलेज में? क्या हमें जीपी
आई
क्या
गेस
हम
हम तीनों ने फिगर आउट कर लिया है कि नहीं है एट अ पॉइंट, लाइक एक लेवल तक
आई
जब अगर प्लेसमेंट चाहिए तो दे आर इम्पोर्टेंट, लाइक
मेरा मेरा
एक्चुअली.
ये मानना है, दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाई वन ऑफ द रीजंस व्हाई आई वांटेड टू डू दिस विद विशाल, क्योंकि हमारे थॉट्स अभी तक काफी मिलते जुलते होंगे, बट आफ्टर दिस क्वेश्चन आई एम श्योर वी विल हैव कपल ऑफ डिफरेंट व्यूज कमिंग। तो मेरे लिए ऐसा है, फॉर मी तुम अगर कॉलेज जा रहे हो तो फॉर मी इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट दैट यू लर्न समथिंग आउट ऑफ इट, राइट? अब इस लर्निंग प्रोसेस में ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि तुम्हें अगर 12 सब्जेक्ट वो सिखा रहे हैं, हार्डवेयर से लेके नेटवर्किंग से लेके रैंडम माइक्रो प्रोसेसर कोडिंग वगैरह वगैरह, ऐसा
ऑपरेटिंग
जरूरी नहीं
सिस्टम
कि तुम
इतना
हाँ,
कुछ.
ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि तुम सब में टॉपर बनो और रट्टे मार के फर्स्ट रैंक लाओ। आई एम वेरी अगेंस्ट दैट।
या
बट मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगा, अगर तुम उस अपना टाइम अब वहां बिता रहे हो तो वाई नॉट लर्न समथिंग आउट ऑफ इट? अगर तुम उसको पढ़ रहे
मैंने
हो
डिग्री लिया है सिद्धार्थ।
नहीं, मुझे पता है, पर भाई माय
wait,
माय हियर
Siddharth, you also took the degree, right?
हाँ हाँ
Like
हाँ
you
हाँ,
both of you
ये एक
graduates, like
टुकड़ा पटेरी
legit.
हाँ, तो मेरा पॉइंट ये था कि अगर तुम कॉलेज जा रहे हो तो देर इज नो हार्म इन ऑल्सो लर्निंग दोज थिंग्स, बिकॉज मैं ये बोलने वाला था अभी कि यू शुड एक्सप्लोर एंड एक्सपेरिमेंट जितना भी हो सके तुम्हारे 3 साल में। अब वो एक्सप्लोर का मतलब ये हो सकता है कि तुम अपना डांस गाने का स्किल से लेके तुम्हारे यूआई यूएक्स का स्किल, इवन इफ यू आर नो वे क्लोज टू बीइंग अ डिजाइनर, ये
Yeah.
तुम सब कुछ ट्राई कर सकते हो,
Like
किसी
character wise and
कुछ भी कर
interests
सकते हो।
wise सब कुछ check कर
एग्जैक्टली
लो.
exactly. अब अगर 50 पेपर तुम लिख रहे हो कॉलेज में तो वो भी तुम्हारे एक्सप्लोरेशन का फेस हो सकता है, क्योंकि
Yeah.
तुम भी ये अपने जीवन में ये पहली बार कर रहे हो, तुम्हें ये नहीं पता कि इससे तुम्हारा क्या फायदा होगा या
And
तुम्हें।
load भी नहीं है कुछ, like there's
तो मेरा
nothing to
पॉइंट ये है
lose.
कि मेरे लिए मार्क्स इंपॉर्टेंट थे तब तक जब तक वो मार्क्स मुझे हार्म नहीं पहुंचा रहे हो, विच डायरेक्टली सेज अगर मैं पास होते जा रहा हूँ विदाउट एनीथिंग एंड 4th ईयर में अचानक से जब मेरे पास कोविड का हाल था, जो विशाल और हम जिस ईयर में ग्रेजुएट
Okay,
हुए थे,
आप लोग के 4th ईयर में कोविड आया था.
हाँ, हम 2020 आई थिंक मार्च 8 या मार्च 11 को हम घर गए थे ये सोच के कि हम एक हफ्ते बाद आएंगे, फिर हम गए नहीं।
वो एक हफ्ता आया नहीं कभी।
वो वो हमारे कॉलेज का
मेरा स्टोरी क्या है ना
हाँ
कि फॉर एग्जांपल if I talk about again the mass number of tier 3 college students, तो आई थिंक बहुत सारे चीज़ थे जो मुझे नहीं पता था। आई मीन मेरे को जैसे इंग्लिश बोलना मेरे लिए अभी भी मैं स्टेज फियर है मेरे को जब मैं जाता हूँ तो आई रिमेम्बर राइट कि जब हम लोग 15 डेज ऑफ हैक और तुम्हारा जो हैकेथॉन था मैकेटन उसके लिए रीच आउट कर रहे थे, तो तब तक मुझे लगता था कि सिद्धार्थ कैसे लोगों से जाके बात कर ले रहा है ये, कि अरे यार ये सीधा गया ऑफिस में घुसा, मतलब उस जो था ना फुल कांटेक्ट था ना, हाँ। So how come he can go there and directly talk to him like like he is same age group जो वो है, तो मेरे को वहाँ टाइम लगा बहुत कि how do you like how do you just filter this out कि वो तुमसे बड़ा है और you can still talk openly कि बिना सोचे हुए बात करना, राइट? तब मेरे को बहुत डर लगता था कि किसी से कुछ बोलूँगा वो क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में। सो दिस इज़ वेरी आई फील लाइक वेरी कॉमन थिंग। सो मैं कल गया था नागपुर, तो वहाँ पे वो लोग वही बोलते हैं कि आप आए अच्छा लगा तो हेल्प अस with your journey. So I felt like कि somebody अगर होता किसी I was lucky कि I get into Cochin University, but अगर मैं कहीं और होता जहाँ पे कोचिन की तरह कम्युनिटी नहीं होती तो मैं और भी स्ट्रगल करता to just get अप टू अ पॉइंट जो मैं कॉलेज के एंड में था अपने अपने कॉलेज में। तो वो मेरे लिए क्या था ना कि कॉलेज मार्क्स, आई मीन इट डजंट ऐड वैल्यू टू मी, बिकॉज अगर मैं वो टाइम अगर मैं ओएस को दे रहा हूँ और मुझे एट द एंड बस वो पेपर मिल रहा है जो मुझे बता रहा है कि हाँ तुम्हारा ये 8 जीपीए है या जो भी जीपीए है,
हम्म।
अगर वो मेरे को उतना नहीं सिखा रहा है, नॉट जस्ट डिग्री फॉर मी। क्या था कि मैंने बहुत सारे एग्जाम्स हो रहे हैं सेमेस्टर एग्जाम्स की, क्यों देना, मतलब मैं क्वेश्चंस करता था सुबह सुबह कि मैं क्यों देने जा रहा हूँ, क्या फायदा होगा। तो मैं ये सब मैं छोड़ के क्लासेस वगैरह कुछ भी रैंडम, मैं हर चीज़ कम्युनिटी में नहीं करता था, मैं बहुत सारा चीज़ ऑनलाइन बैठ के एसीओ कैसे काम करता है, कोई एक उसका एल्गोरिदम्स मतलब जानना, ऐसे कुछ भी रैंडम स्टफ। ऐसा कुछ नहीं
या
है कि मैं सबसे पहले मैंने क्या सीखा कॉलेज में, एडोब इलस्ट्रेटर, क्योंकि मुझे फर्जी रिजल्ट्स बनाने थे हर सेमेस्टर के एंड में घर वालों को। मेरे लिए कॉलेज पूरा टाइम था, फ्री टाइम था, 4 साल आई जस्ट
हम्म
डिड। आई मीन मेरे को पता था कि, और मेरे कुछ दोस्त थे मेरे कुछ दोस्त थे, देवर लाइक कि विशाल क्या कर रहा है, तो सुबह
हम्म
सुबह मतलब सब लोग एग्जाम के लिए रेडी है, मैं
हम्म
सो रहा हूँ कि अरे यार जाओ तुम लोग, मेरे को नहीं करना ये सब तो
Actually, I mean, I wanted to add point to what Vishal said earlier. I mean, sorry, what Siddharth said earlier. जहाँ पे like यूजुअली ना इंडिया में इंडियन एजुकेशन सिस्टम के वजह से हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के माइंडसेट में दे आर इन दिस रश मोड वेयर जहाँ पे उन्हें इंस्ट्रक्शन मिलता है और वो उसी के हिसाब से फॉलो करते करते चले जाते हैं
या स्कूल
एंड
वही था हमारा ना शुरू से ही, कि ये करना है, ये करना है,
हाँ
आज ये करना है
हाँ
बेटा, आज
हाँ
वो
एंड
करना है,
देन दे
उनको
नेवर
कुछ पर्सनल
रियलाइज लाइक
नहीं।
जब इंजीनियरिंग में आ जाते हैं दे गेट टू चूज लाइक दे गेट टू एक्सप्लोर बट दे नेवर रियलाइज दिस कि दे हैव दिस पावर टू एक्सप्लोर एंड चूज and they end up waiting for those instructions which they call academics obviously like and they never like explore themselves and they end up wasting their life. I'd say, I mean, controversial बात नहीं करना चाहता but I hope this makes sense. So I wanted to say कि like you guys have this power to, I mean, जो भी अभी फर्स्ट एंड सेकेंड ईयर्स में है, you guys have this power to choose and explore. So कोई रोक नहीं रहा है, you can just try out new things every time you want, you wish. Like get into this actual students mindset where you are in this urge to learn new things. Okay, instead of scoring marks, you try to learn if that subject interests you. अदरवाइज स्कोर कैसे करना हमें लाइक इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स को तो पता ही लर्निंग.
या थ्रू आउट माई लाइफ मैं बस मार्क्स लाता था।
हाँ
फिर जब मैं कॉलेज आया आई जस्ट बिकम अपोजिट, कि मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, मैंने पूरा जीवन यही
हाँ
किया, मेरे को क्या
दैट्स वाई
मिला।
दैट्स द टर्निंग पॉइंट गाइस, लिसन, सोचो, सोच बदलो.
एंड देन ऑनेस्टली राइट, मेरे लाइफ में बहुत सारा चीज था, मेरे को मेरा जो एक दोस्त था कोटा में, वो इंग्लिश गाने सुनता था, मेरे को लगा
हम्म
कि क्यों करता है ये, इंडियंस क्यों करते हैं। फिर जब
हम्म
मैं आया कॉलेज में मैंने कहा ये सब लोग करते हैं तो मैंने कहा कि ओके मैं ही गलत था क्या। तो फिर तब मुझे समझ में आया कि इफ यू वांट टू वर्क विद द पीपल विद जो ग्लोबली राइट, एंड इवन वांट टू नो व्हाट दे आर डूइंग, यू हैव टू अडाप्ट, यू हैव टू लर्न अ लैंग्वेज जो सब लोग बोल रहे हैं। यू कांट जस्ट से कि मैं भोजपुरी बोल के दुनिया के हर चीजों को समझ सकता हूँ, राइट, और बस लोगों को समझा सकता हूँ।
But I
दैट इज
love
इन,
the way Vishal actually questions everything which comes up in his life.
नो
Like
आई डू नॉट यूज टू
why? College life में you are actually doing, like you were actually doing. I hope even you're doing now. I mean that's the usual way. But even I wanted to ask this question, like how are these FOSS events organized? Like is this the offline version of Major League Hacking's Global Hack Week, or else it's different? Because I have seen in FOSS people are giving talks on different technologies and whatever they know to sort of this peer-to-peer learning which
या
we were discussing before.
just to clarify, FOSS is generic term. It's for free and open source software.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Like
foundation I work for is
FOSS
FOSS
India,
United. FOSS
FOSS,
United.
FOSS
United.
United. Yeah. So what
Yeah,
does
the
how
Manchester
does
United.
FOSS United? I mean, sorry to
Yeah, no
misinterpret
worries,
it,
no
but
worries. So, the FOSS, what FOSS United does is we do a lot of different kind of activities. I mean, events. So, एक तो होता है कि कॉन्फ्रेंस, पीपल प्रपोज टॉक, कि हाँ मुझे ये टॉक देना है टू द ऑडियंस जो आएंगे, एंड वी गेट सो एक तो कॉन्फ्रेंस का होता है वेयर लेट्स से 10, अगर एक दिन का कॉन्फ्रेंस है, 10 से 12 स्पीकर्स रहते हैं, दे कम, 10 से 20 मिनट का टॉक्स रहता है, they come and they talk about the project, the FOSS project they are building, or yeah, if they are a company, they talk about how they are using FOSS to run their startup, run their business. I mean, basically, they uh,
Okay, so me as a free contributor, I can just apply for a, what do you say,
FOSS conference,
yeah,
any
for
of the
OS
FOSS
conference.
conference that we
Like
do.
I
Yes,
will apply for a FOSS conference which I want to give to other people, and
yeah,
you will organize my schedule in your agenda.
yeah. We review it if
Yeah.
whether
If
it
that
does
makes
fit.
sense, you will.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
you told this in your video, that short clip in your.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
like I did some
so that
groundwork
was
also.
2 days conference, and actually we got 130 applications. I do not remember exact number, but 100 plus application, and we were in rush because we didn't expect it that many. Okay, and so for that we have to book another auditorium, in the
Hmm.
same convention hall, and we had 46 or 48 talks or 50 talks. Okay, 2 days parallel sessions.
FOSS India is, I mean, sorry, FOSS United is Indian originated, or else.
Yeah, yeah. Our focus area is in India. Yeah,
Okay, I mean, who started it? Where is it? What's its origin? Is it India, or like
yeah.
किसका
So
है FOSS
so
United?
so so the city of Zerodha, Kailash Nath,
Yeah.
and the CEO of Frappe, Kurusha Mehta. So they Zerodha is completely built on top of FOSS. Okay, and and I think out of the 100+ billion-dollar value startups in India, Zerodha, Zoho, and there are a few more companies who is making profit. Okay, बाकी सब loss में चल रहे हैं. And then one of the major reason is because they are in house. They use FOSS. I mean, I think there are very few things that they use which is non-FOSS. Okay, and and again, other reason is that they're bootstrapped, so they do not have to like uh, show something to their investor. So they use FOSS heavily, and they make profit. Okay, so they wanted to give it to the community. Okay, and at the same time, Rushabh Mehta, which is who is CEO of Frappe, based out of Mumbai, he runs a business company called Frappe Technology, and they create a lot of open source technology, open source projects. Okay, and Zerodha use Frappe internally to run the stockbroker, to manage the stock brokerage. I mean, a lot of transaction happens, right?
Hmm.
So they came together. They had similar thoughts on why we should promote the creation of FOSS in India, and
Hmm.
that's when they were looking for somebody who can organize FOSS Hack 2020 online, right? Pandemic is there, right? So, and then luckily, Siddharth, if you remember, I organized 15 days of hack long back. It was an online hackathon. I was just like I was curious, right? कि let's say we're doing an offline hackathon, वहाँ पे 100 सीट है, so we cannot invite more than 100, right?
Hmm.
तो I felt a problem with the online offline hackathon कि 100 लोग ज़्यादा लोग नहीं आ सकते हैं. So how do we again like curious Vishal, I was like कि कुछ करते हैं यार, कि 200 लोग आए, 400 लोग आए. And then I was like okay, कुछ करते हैं लंबा. And then I just idea था मेरे दिमाग में कि, and then that was something for that I reached out to Tinker Hub founder, which Siddharth was mentioning earlier. Our senior started that, and okay, so that happened, right? तो हमने वो किया FOSSAC. I mean, and then Meher is from Calicut, Kailash is from Calicut. I think, or maybe through Tinker Hub, they find out that okay, Vishal might help them to organize this, right? So yeah, that's what I mean, that's how we met Kailash, Zerodha, I mean Rushav, and then we started doing events. तब मैं बहुत ही like
नया
amateur
था.
था ये. So
एंड व्हाट आर योर नेक्स्ट प्लान्स राइट नाउ, लाइक और कौन से सिटी में एक्सपैंड करने का प्लान है? बिकॉज आई हैव सीन द वेबसाइट, देयर आर मेनी places where FOSS United is present right now, like conducting hackathons.
yeah,
Is that hackathon they call?
no, it's indiaforce.net.
No,
It's
I mean the events they conduct.
So it's city FOSS. Let's say Nagpur FOSS
Yeah,
happened,
yeah, okay,
Durg
okay,
FOSS
okay.
is happening.
So
So
when is Vishakhapatnam FOSS happening?
it started. We'll fund you. you
Okay,
you
I mean, this is going to be a nice question, I guess. Like, if I wanted to be a member of FOSS who can organize events, I mean, who wants to organize events, what will you suggest? Like, what will be a perfect strategy for me to get into that zone?
So we have a whole guideline for the organizers. So from our past experience of organizing conference, if you just go to our forum,
Hmm.
the search FOSS United Forum, you'll see it is pinned, uh, ha- uh, handbook for conference organizers. So it is explained. I mean, we have explained very well that कि क्या क्या करना है, क्या क्या चीज़ों को ध्यान में रखना है, कितने लोग चाहिए, कितना दिन रखना होता है. So it's a very, I mean, we have tried to make it very explained and very descriptive ताकि लोग को आसानी से वो
Okay.
कर सके.
Like,
So
a team, as in, like, a single guy cannot apply to it, right?
no,
Like
you
they.
can apply, but you need to have a team जो हर एक एक डोमेन को संभाल सके, outreach,
Okay,
talks
and the
management.
teams will also be specified. The name of teams, like in the guideline which you guys are
No,
giving.
so we have actually given 6 वर्क ग्रुप की. एक आउटरीच होना चाहिए, एक कॉल फॉर प्रपोजल टॉक्स मैनेजमेंट होना चाहिए, एक वेबसाइट मैनेजर होना चाहिए.
And एक convention hall रहना चाहिए
हाँ, नो
mostly.
आई मीन सी, वी डू नॉट, वी आर नॉट सेइंग कि हाँ इतने लोग होने चाहिए. इट्स अप टू द ऑर्गेनाइजर कि 4 लोग मिलके, इफ दे आर सुपर एनर्जेटिक, दे हैव लॉट ऑफ
They
टाइम, दे
can
कैन यूज
manage all those
इट.
like
बट वी
commas
हैव
which you
गिवन
are
देम कि
given.
ये 6 चीज है, दे शुड बी
Hmm.
लाइक
Hmm. Hmm.
ये चीज होने चाहिए,
Hmm.
मतलब
Hmm.
थ्रू आउट द कॉन्फ्रेंस, ताकि यू आर नॉट मिसिंग एनीथिंग. दैट्स अ
Yeah,
पॉइंट.
yeah. I mean, so guys, if you want to do some great work like Vishal, uh, link of that guideline will be given in the description. You can just check it out, and if you want to conduct events in your city, you have a great team which want to conduct events. You can just read those guidelines and follow them up. So coming to Siddharth, similar question to this question, like what will you suggest to be a organizer, first hand organizer? What was it you called, if I'm not wrong? First hand organizer, right? Like
Uh,
in Major League Hacking.
Member event organizer.
Yeah, member event organizer.
Okay.
What will you suggest if one wants to be a member event organizer? What will be your strategic path to it?
Um, I'm going to give you again references from my life to make more sense of
That
how.
will be more helpful actually.
Yeah.
People will relate to it. I mean, people will be relate to it.
Yeah, I'm someone who thinks that if you don't have examples from your life to speak it out, I don't think you've really done it.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
play by that rule always. This is again the time when Vishal was talking about hackathons that we were running together, and we were starting off with this thing. The place that we come from was not very familiar with the idea of hackathons back at that time. I remember I went to this one event, which was a 36-hour event.
mm-hmm.
Uh, the idea of it is a hackathon, but it was called Startup Weekend. I don't know if Vishal was aware of it.
Yeah.
There's this global startup accelerator called TechStars.
Techstars, yeah.
TechStars is still, I think, running startup weekends, but I think they've changed the format a little bit. So this was the first time that I went to a real hackathonish kind of a thing, but it was way more involved than a usual hackathon. As in, you not just go there and start building things on your own, but you have to present ideas in front of a group, and then people vote for your ideas. Top ideas will only be selected to go forward, and then you randomly form teams out of the people that have come to your event.
Well,
Uh,
this actually matches with that theme of Mismatched. If you have watched Mismatch Netflix series.
Correct, but it's way more involved in the sense it's not just a team. How that works there is you have come to a university and then you kind of match with people and you
Yeah,
start building it, right?
yeah.
But here there's nothing
You
that
need to
ties all
pitch
of
the
these.
idea. If the organizers are like, organizers are going to judge, or okay, they have judges for it.
No. So
No,
how
the
this works
people,
is,
the people
imagine,
itself are going to.
yes, imagine there are 50 of us that walk into the venue.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing that they do is they ask anybody to come around and pitch ideas that they have in their mind. Now, it can be anything. I remember there were people who would want to, at that time, create colonization on Mars, or would want to set up their restaurant on Mars. And it can be anything crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing there is to be able to get people out of that comfort zone they are in, and kind of also break the ice in that process. So anybody can come in, walk in, talk about their idea. Once you're done talking about the idea, they give you a big chart paper where you have to write and draw to explain what this idea is about. and then
Hmm.
you leave all the ideas on a desk. Now everybody else gets three sticky notes, and these are votes. So whichever you like, you write your name on that sticky note and go stick it on whichever idea you like.
Hmm.
They pick up top 10, or based on the number of attendance that they have had, they pick up the top ones, and then the person who presented that idea is kind of the leader of the group, and then you can join them in their team, and that team starts building it.
Hmm.
So you are basically trying to sell your idea and have people join you.
Okay,
Typically.
another question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, were you supposed to make any PPTs regarding it? Like, the 36 hours hackathon, which was conducted in our college by ACM.
Mm-hmm.
You know ACM?
I know.
Yeah, so ACM conducted a hackathon of 36 hours. We were supposed to, the ideas were like the preliminary round where
Mm-hmm.
we gave them the ideas and they chose few nice ideas. Fortunately, our idea was one of those few,
Mm-hmm.
and we got a chance to participate in that. And later, we were supposed to make a PPT, give a perfect documentation for it, and also like involve in conducting. I mean, sorry, writing the code. And the best part of it was like we had only one help desk, and on in that one in like उसमें भी सिर्फ दो लोग ही थे पूरे we were like 120 odd people.
Uh-huh.
And like I don't know
Fantastic.
if they wanted to like पता नहीं उन्होंने किस सेंस में बोला है बात को, बट इट एक्चुअली हेल्प अस टू लाइक कम्युनिकेट विद पीपल. लाइक
Mm-hmm.
उन्होंने बोला कि अगर किसी को डाउट है तो यू फर्स्ट गो टू डिफरेंट टेबल्स and ask them, try to ask them what is their approach, and
Mm-hmm.
if you still didn't figure out, you can come to us directly. We don't accept you guys to talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but it was actually a great way. लाइक डॉक्यूमेंटेशन वाले पार्ट में थोड़ा मुश्किल हो रहा था. वी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन के लिए गया था, लेकिन लेटर फाउंड की दैट गाइस कोड स्निपेट इज मच बेटर देन आर्स. लाइक वैसे वैसे इट वाज नेवर अबाउट अ पर्टिकुलर थिंग, बट वी एक्चुअली एक्सप्लोर्ड सिमिलर माइंड्स, these kinds of things. Like organizers अगर सच्ची में सेंस में रहकर ये बात कहा है उन्होंने, instead of कि like ditching the doubts, it actually helped us in a way.
But this was different because this was called Startup Weekend, and this is an event that's organized by a startup accelerator. Their
Mm-hmm.
tagline itself says, "I built a startup in 36 hours."
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off with you planning out things, selling your idea. Then you have a big template that they share with you where you go and do your go-to market. You
Mm-hmm.
plan your go-to market strategy, understand the market, and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you are given a task of going out to any public place,
Mm-hmm.
talk to people about the idea that you're trying to build, and get their response. So that's you trying to validate the market. And you're doing it right at that time of 36 hours. You go out in public and talk to people, and you have to record their expressions. And that
Wow.
is also part of the final presentation that you make.
Next level thing, I guess.
It was crazy. I mean, that's when I understood
And
the
टीम का
value of
साइज कितना था? टीम का
क्या?
साइज कितना था? Like
5 people.
5 people doing this, and we were four. Like we were like restricted to 4 people only, and two of us were coding, and two of us were doing that PPT and documentation. It was a I guess now compared to your level of that hackathon, it's actually way more expressing, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
the good part about it is it's not called a hackathon. It was always called a
Uh,
startup weekend. And the
oh,
idea of it is to give you a flavor of how
okay.
startups
I
work.
weekend as in like 2 days, 2 days session, like Saturday and Sunday.
36, I think it started somewhere around evening of Friday and then ended afternoon of Sunday,
Sunday. Makes sense.
something like that. So that's when I was introduced, or I think I had gone to another hackathon before this, but I did not like how it went because the organizers did not do a very good job in putting out the idea of how it should work. For me, at that time, being at a hackathon was only about going, sitting with your team, having free food, and then just focusing your eyes on the laptop that you have. Nothing other than that. And that wasn't fascinating to me. I did not want to go back to a place like that and have my sleep ruined for some random thing, some random platform that people are waiting to sit on. But this one right here was very impressive. Very impressive in the sense I always talk about this. I always use that brand. I always give them free promotions in this way. But I really want to do it because it was very, very amazing what happened there. And that's something that I took back from me, which is I need to be able to create this kind of a platform for people uh, to be experimenting fearlessly in the 24 hours that they have, and they get enough support. So what are the trouble that we will have otherwise? You might not have good internet, you do not have enough food or enough coffee to keep you awake during the week. You have to think of other issues, which is a place to gather people and work together, random things that comes up as a problem, right? And that's where the organizer comes into picture, wherein they are solving that problem for you, and you are supposed to go there and experiment in any sense. Now experimentation can become technologically experimenting. It can be you breaking the ice and starting to talk to people, which
Nice. Yeah.
Vishal very very correctly pointed out, which something he struggled with. And I would want to add here, which he did mention, that when we both of us were going out, and I would go talking to people and he would be amazed. 4 years down the lane, that's the exact opposite now. Every time I have something in my mind, I want to ask questions, I go to Vishal and ask him questions. I ringing up and we do all of those things. But I just wanted to put it there. But anyway,
My question was a different one. I mean, not a different one. I mean, I guess you're still answering the
hackathon.
question.
For hackathons, yes. What I was trying to focus on here is, first try and understand why you want to do a hackathon. Don't do it to go build a brand around it. When I talk about hackathons to any of you right now, I am 100% sure you have at least three brands that come to your mind, because it was either organized by someone who's popular in the community, or they had so much of pomp and show around it that everybody came to know of it. But that is not how, and I'm not against people like that doing it. If you are someone who's famous, you're doing it, you have access to more resources, and you would be able to run it very openly and very clearly. But for someone who's doing it the first time, don't do it because you want to mimic what they have done and reach the platform that they have reached using this as a brand. Don't do it, because you're going to spoil the experience of people attending it, and they're going to be never turning up for any other event that happens afterwards. Don't do that. So for me, if you want to have a hackathon, don't even call it a hackathon. Call it anything else you want. Don't give it that term. But if you want to create a platform like that for people, make sure they go back with a sense of learning. Can be them enhancing their soft skills, can be them enhancing their public speaking skills, anything of that sort, right? Ensure that they can learn, ensure that they feel like they've been heard, which means if they come back to you, ask you something, don't shoo them away because that's not important to you and you are only trying to build a brand. It can be as small as somebody coming to you and asking you for extension cables. You have to figure out a way to help them out. And
Yeah.
this will sound very silly, but once you start organizing it, you'll understand the value of it. Third, do not give people a greed of cash money. And anything that comes to your mind right now, I am sure the first thing you go notice is the cash money that they want to give out. And that kills the vibe of how hackathons have to be. And this is why I'm very fascinated with the hackathons that happen in the Western part of the world, wherein they don't have cash money as a way to, as a clickbait, I would say.
Hmm.
It's
They
always
get those packs, like the pack kind of thing they get.
anything. You can give
Yeah.
them anything, or it's the experience that people sell. It's
Hmm.
not cash money that people are using to
So
attract you to places.
I'll put something because we
Mm,
organize Fast Hack every year,
mm,
and we put a cash prize of 10 lakh. Okay,
mm,
and I mean again, so when we started this, lot of comments came, right. You are trying to get, uh, I mean, you're trying to market your hackathon with the cash prize you're giving. I mean, 10 lakh rupees is a lot, right?
yes.
So, but our idea was, again, not to use, I mean, share, give the money because we want more registration, or we want to attract people. So with, I mean, if you have ever heard of, right, so one of the uh, project maintainer, he reached out to Amazon because they were using his project. Okay,
Mm,
and he doesn't have a job. Okay, I mean he has a job, but he wants stable job or full-time job, or maybe he wants some value out of it, the amount of value he has given to the society. I mean, think of Linus Torvald, right? He might need some financial support, right? I mean, or need some money which he can use to like live a lifestyle. So the reason we give this money, where people who are contributing and need some money to keep working on the project. So we look into the cash prize as grant to where they can keep working on the project, not as something which will attract people and you know which will end up just make them just participate and not learn anything.
That's correct. Let me just clarify what both of us mentioned. So, for FOSAC specifically, or FOS United as an organization, their goal is not here to start a culture of hackathons and then start promoting it to make it a brand. But their vision as an organization has already been set in stone of what they want to achieve. That's not just about spreading the word of force through students and communities, it's also to change policies on probably the government level as well. And I know Vishal has been also working on those levels. And to achieve that, Force United also has this sponsorship that they give out to developers, which is funds that you get for all the good work that you do, which is on the lines of you
True.
promoting tech or you working in tech, right? So it's justified for you to be giving people with the vision that you've already set in place. Now, the kind of audience that I'm talking about is college students trying to organize hackathons, and I'm 100% sure they do not have anything in their pocket to fund it. They
Very
have to
true.
go for
Actually, this is a personal experience. We tried to, like, conduct a hackathon, but we didn't get any funds for it. Even our, what do you say, like, our authority didn't give any money for that, because they said, तुम लोग का तो अपना student chapter है. You just do it on your own. So we somehow, as a team, called it a membership for joining our
Mhm.
student chapter, and we conducted a hackathon based
Correct.
on it.
And
Somehow we managed it.
you don't have to spend crazy to be able to give people a experience like that.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
doesn't have to be a five-star venue with you spreading out Red Bull at the end of 24 hours and then leading people into a very fancy dinner. Doesn't have to be like that, is what I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Just My point here is, first understand why you're doing this. If you're not able to give people an experience and you're doing it to just have another hackathon organized, which now happens for n number of years without any reason, and you understand what I'm trying to say, right? If you want to do that, please do not. There are several other ways that you would be able to do this. But again, if you'd want to do, if you've decided that you want to do this and this is how it goes, for Major League Hacking or MLH specifically, we have something known as the member event application. Member events is where MLH supports these kinds of hackathons that happen, and there is a process set in place, like the handbook Vishal was talking about for FOSS conferences. We also have member event guidelines. You have to go through those guidelines and abide by all of those, and you have to send in an application at least 3 or 4 months before your event happens. So you have to decide on a date and give us an application 3 or 4 months before.
Like, is this specific to that Global Hack Week?
No, so
I
I'll
guess
help.
this is. I mean, you're participating in only this Global Hack Week, and you'll not be available for the next one.
Let me try and differentiate both of these things and help you
Yeah,
understand what all of these
please,
brands
please.
mean.
Yes, better.
So when I introduce myself as a first party events coordinator, I'm talking about the events, the first party events, which are completely owned and run by MLH as a brand. But the question that I was trying to answer earlier was member events, wherein we support hackathons that happen because somebody else is organizing it. Our role is just to support them. And support could be by sending someone from our MLH team to go there and help them as an extension of their organizing team, help them in whatever they want throughout the duration of their event. We have companies that work with us to, support hackers, is what they call them. So we activate those sponsors during your event, and it becomes very easy for other people to start. Let's say we have GitHub activated at your event, people can now use GitHub to do anything. Let's say we have GoDaddy registry activated at your place. They have an easier way to get a domain name for free. So all of those things, right? That's how the support ecosystem works. Now talking about the other half, which is the first party events. First party events are basically hosted by MLH digital hackathons that happen on our Discord almost every weekend, which is something primarily I work on, wherein uh, because it's digital, anybody can come and join us and hack for 24 hours, more than 24 hours actually. It starts late on Friday and then goes all the way up to Sunday. And we have split it up into two regions. So one of the event timings is friendly to NA and EU. The other is completely Indian and APAC friendly time
Like
zone.
this one which happened.
This is again a third product which is called Global Hack Week.
Okay, this is but
It's
this
not
is also conducted by Major League
completely by
Hack.
MLH,
Yeah.
exactly. So the hosted by MLH digital hackathons that I was talking to you about, those are proper hackathons which
Okay.
happen completely online,
Mm-hmm.
and you get all the benefits of whatever you would have when you go offline.
Hmm.
Global Hack Week is a completely different idea. It's like a festival of hackers
I
coming
get
together
it. I get it.
to
That's
learn.
why you're like, this is that peer-to-peer thing, like where we are learning from each other.
Correct.
We are
This
interacting.
is directly aligned to peer peer, but then
No, I get
otherwise
it.
also we have people in our community who sign up to be mentors or who just
Yeah.
uh, hang around on Discord otherwise, and then help people do that.
Actually,
But
and
what
I
happens?
actually wanted to add a point with your previous point where you're talking about, uh, like getting, I mean, looking at other people what they're doing and doing the same thing. There is actually, I mean, I'm talking to the listeners right now. There is actually a difference between being like getting inspiration from them and copying the same idea which they did. The thing here is people easily fall in this trap of following the same thing which they did rather than getting inspired and like thinking in a way like when we say getting inspired, we actually think about the thought process they had and the objectives they wanted to fulfill. But copying is very similar. It's more simple than getting inspired from them. That's why people tend to copy things, like copy the way they have conducted.
I think inspiration is definitely something, yeah, that you should receive, but you often ignore the context that's on the background. So
Exactly.
let's say you saw someone who's really famous in the community who has been doing these hackathons. I am 100% sure that they have spent time in learning what is right and wrong, and then they build themselves first to that point where they can now help people to get there, and then is what you see happening right now. So there is a good amount of context that was set earlier, which you do not know while you're looking from the outside. Now, what people would generally try and do is they would want to mimic people based on what they see right now,
Hmm.
without doing the homework that they probably were
Exactly.
doing for a couple
Exactly.
of years. That's
Exactly.
not how it works. When you try to do that, you are close to digging your own grave, is what I would say.
Yeah.
And you can I think people take fake it till you make it way too seriously these days, and I'm sure I'm going to get called out when you put this out online. But I think it has to change a little bit from fake it till you make it. It has to change to something better. I don't know what exactly it has to change to, but fake it till you make it has been
Like
overused
fake
for
it till
extent
you
to
make
time.
it, where you get till you get used to the mindset, or else because while faking it, the more we fake it, I mean, at an extent we get to know that what is the motive behind it, but we still don't want to explore it because we find mimicking it is much easier task. That's why we continue mimicking it.
I think the TLDR here is don't fake it till a point of no return, where you only survive on the pillar of faking it. That's
Mm-hmm.
where things go wrong for you drastically. And um, I mean, unfortunately, I know of people who have gone through that pothole of doing that, and they end up in a rabbit hole, I would say. So
Yeah.
don't do it. There's nothing worth in it. You take your own time to figure out things, experiment things, figure things out for yourself. It doesn't have to be aligned with what someone else has been doing in life. I can say for a fact, if both Vishal and I followed the path of everybody else, we would right now be doing an MBA in one of the cities in UK. Vishal will completely agree with what I'm saying right now. But we decided to go otherwise. We figured out that that's not what we wanted to do, and we're taking our time to explore things for ourselves. This doesn't have to be successful, but we at least did not go the way where everybody went and be bored of our life, because engineering was another cycle where we followed the crowd. I do not want to follow the crowd again.
Exactly.
That's
And
what
Yep.
by the way, what are your sources of income right now? If you are giving this much to the community, do you
Mm.
have any other source of income, or else you're getting paid for? contributing to this, like being a first hand it was, right?
You mean the company's part of making money?
Yeah, like how is this actually making you any money? Like, because contributing is on the one hand, but
Hmm.
we need also like,
Expenses to be paid, bills to be paid.
exactly, exactly.
So what I do with Major League Hacking first party events coordinator is my job position
First
there.
party events, exactly.
Is a full-time role that I have taken up with that organization, wherein it's not a not-for-profit organization because it requires a lot of resources to be able to do things that we do. For
Hmm.
example, if it's a member event that I'm talking about, and I told you that we send somebody from our end to support you during your event, right? Sending someone, flying them to your event, taking care of their expenses is just a small thing that will want us to be able to pay for their bills, right? There are a lot more things in that process which require us to be able to sustain and pay people in that loop. So it does not really work as a not non-profit here in this logic. So uh, yes, I get paid for what I do, and that's how
Hmm.
I pay my bills. If
Great. And
that's what
what
it.
about Vishal? What's your way of getting paid through this?
So we are non-profit organization,
Hmm.
and we so initially most of our fundings used to come from Zerodha and Frappe, the organization who started Foss United, the companies who started Foss United. So we are non-profit and we raise funds. We have sponsors. So we recently started industrial partnership. Uh, so we have raised. So we every year, from this year onward, we are having a budget and we are reaching out to companies who want to support in the cause of Foss United. Uh, so we again we are like another NGO or non-profit organization who raise money, who raise donations to sustain themselves and keep working on the cause.
Yeah. And I actually wanted to ask you another question. Like, few people have this, because you have dealt with most of the open source side. I mean, I wanted to ask, how is this? I mean, how is open source, the regular OS, open source organizations, different from FOSS? Are these the same thing, or else like there is some differentiating factor between a FOSS and a regular open source organization, or else we can call any open source organization as a FOSS?
So in India, unfortunately, there are not any active open source organization like FOSS United.
Mm-hmm.
So we have so there is a government body of Kerala, IC FOSS. The intention is same. I mean limited to Kerala though, but they're not active. But there are a lot worldwide. So there is one organization called Open Internet Security Foundation. So they're they are not they're a foundation, and similar to that, Linux Foundation, right? So there are many foundations like that, but not in India, unfortunately. So there are groups who organize, I mean, open source conference like OSI, but not something which is very community friend. Which is not something we'll say FOSS fast. I mean, there are a lot of things which I personally feel doesn't match with the philosophy of FOSS.
Okay, so you're saying is like, I'm not talking about the FOSS United thing. It's completely different from what I'm asking. Like, I'm asking is every open source organization is a FOSS, like free open source?
I can take that up a little bit and set context. So I think you're
Yeah.
asking if an open source project is a free and open source project. Does open source and FOSS go hand in hand, or it's the same thing? Can it be
Exactly.
used interchangeably, right?
Ha ha ha.
I'll give you a couple of terms to explain how this works. So open source majorly can be divided into two different things. It can be a free and open source software or a project. It can be a commercial open source software.
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate both of this is, if you are a free and open source project, the usage of your project, or all of you might know of licenses that exist in your project, right? The license will never restrict a person to be able to use it, modify it, or redistribute it, um, in exchange of any kind of monetization. For free and open source, it's going to be free for everybody, and it's for the social good that somebody is trying to do this. And that's where initiatives like the ones Vishal was talking about, that Force United does, gives them sponsorship and everything to support the free work that they do. Make
Okay,
sure they're
now I
able
get
to
it.
pay for this.
OpenAI is a commercial open source organization.
I don't think OpenAI can be counted as an open source organization. I think if you're talking about DALI
Yeah,
as
Dali.
a tool, you might have heard of Stable Diffusion, which was an open source alternative.
Okay, okay, okay.
But if we talk about Hopscotch, for example, Hopscotch is a commercial open source organization because it has both a free side of things that you can use, which is a community software, but it also
Mm-hmm.
has an enterprise version where they make money, if I'm not wrong, Vishal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean,
how it
all
is.
these open. So, for example, I was talking about one of our founding company, Frappe. So, whatever they build, whatever they write, it's all in the public domain. Anybody can go and use it.
Yeah.
But to sustain themselves, they have some business model. So they have a cloud. I mean, they have SaaS. The same product they build. They have a SaaS, service for those products. They have support for those products that they build. So a lot of companies end up using this product because of the quality and the I mean it is so a lot of companies use uh, for a lot of companies that they do not differentiate whether the license is proprietary or open source. So they pick product because of the feature, because of the UX UI, the flexibility. So for example, Frappe make money because of the support they give to their clients. Okay, so all these companies who build fast projects, they have some model like Hopscotch have some paid support or paid plans for the same product that anybody can use. And so to even to use open source project, you need a lot of effort, you need a lot of skill set, talent, to go through it and look into every changes and every contribution coming onto the project, the future, I mean the future contributions. So if some company is not capable enough to use those, use a product, they end up buying the support or the premium plans. This is how they make money.
A couple of more
Okay.
ways this can work is, it can maybe the monetization can maybe start with as small as selling merchandise of the project,
Mm-hmm.
to as big as what Vishal mentioned. It can be uh, the same software that they use for enterprises to make them pay for it for support, or it can be two different versions of it as well. So, speaking of TypeSense, if you've not checked out, you should definitely go check out TypeSense as a project. It's doing very well. It's an open source project wherein the code that you see on GitHub is the same that they're also selling to enterprises. And when I say selling, they guarantee support, they guarantee hosting, and all of those things, right? Which otherwise you would have to do
Makes
yourself
sense.
when you're
Yeah.
using the open source project. But
Yes.
on the other hand, there are projects who have two different versions, which is called a community version and an enterprise version broadly. Community version is free, but might not have certain features, which is an add-on to the enterprise version, for which the enterprises will end up paying, in addition to the hosting and the support and everything that they give out.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how you explain broadly.
Okay. So I guess this actually answers a lot of questions, and we have discussed a lot of things in this session. Any additional ending points you wanted to add to the people in your domain of interest? What you want to add? Vishal, you go first.
Yeah. Uh, so again, right, when I see myself back in college, where I was fortunate that I went to Kochi University, and we had some culture. Our senior had said something, before we started our college. But just if I just be in a position where I don't have any community out there, so I'll probably start talking to the people in my college, other students in my college, who will be curious enough, or with a similar mindset, and let's say, so for me, I had a friend, I mean, he's still a friend. So for me, there was a person who I used to chat, we used to walk all the campus, like 2-3 hours non-stop about a lot of things, startup business, every single thing, which you see, Elon Musk, right, Mars, everything. So the first thing should be, think more, write more. If not write, I mean, for yourself, not for the, like, public. I mean, do a lot, think a lot. I mean, spend more time on things which you find interesting, or you might never think of. So I mean, even with the FOSS, right, it's more of tinkering. You build software, so you do a lot of trials, whether this function could give you the efficient, I mean, scalable. I mean, when you scale products, right, you want to look into different way how you can scale it with proper function. So my point is, we should tinker a lot with different technologies, different thing. It could be, you might not like building software, but you will be good at, speaking, and understanding the software. So you could end up, being in a job where you go and uh, talk about FOSS, okay, not by coding, but just by evangelizing. If you have understanding of the FOSS philosophy. So my one, liner is tinker and experiment with different things.
Yes, I can clearly see that you ask every. I mean, another thing which Vishal would want to say was like, every time you get a new thing, you just try to question yourself why, and that'll. I mean, I have read this in a book where you need, like, when you want to know the core purpose behind the idea, you can just climb that why ladder and reach that core purpose and work on it. I mean, this the book is here itself, I guess. Think Like a Monk. If any one of you have read this book, actually helps a lot. I mean, yeah. I wanted to add that point. I thought Vishal would have read it because that's a nice point which Vishal
I I
carries every time.
I barely read. I mean, I mostly.
Even I don't read that much, but sometimes few books just like steal my mind for a second. And what about Siddharth? What's your take on it? Like, what? How do you want to end this session?
I agree with whatever Vishal mentioned. It's the phase where you explore, and I did mention a couple of times that you need to be exploring at this time.
Hmm.
Do whatever comes to you. Don't be selective. Don't make your list of interest based on a random person who told you about it. Go make a list of random things, try it out. Even if you hate it, go try it out at least once, so you know you've experienced what it feels like. Go do that. I would also say that don't stick to things that you only like, or that would only get you a job, because job again is a secondary product. I know this sounds like a dialogue straight from a Bollywood movie, but that's how it will work. You will eventually realize that's how it's going to be. And look for people, just to add to what all of us were talking about. Go look for people first inside your college or inside the group of friends. If you don't get any of them, I am sure there's going to be at least one city, if not your city, where events keep happening. uh, Go there once at least, try talking to people, and I'm sure that's going to be a great start for you to start networking. You will end up getting a lot of people. I am pretty sure we both of us wouldn't have been on this podcast if, Lokesh, you weren't part of Global Hack Week, and you wouldn't have texted us randomly. So you
Yeah.
never know how things randomly happen. So don't be afraid of talking to people. Go figure out places, start talking to people. Not all of them is going to be fruitful, but most of them will have value added to your life. Don't be afraid to ask questions and keep experimenting. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great thing. And another thing which I wanted to add for Siddharth's take was, like, finding a right. I mean, actually, we talked about it in the podcast before, like asking the right questions. Like, keep keep it simple, and you don't have to go through a discussion, because if the second person finds it to be a prolonged discussion, they won't be interested, or else they'll just try to ignore it. So try to get those hooks, like learn cold mailing if needed. So yeah, that was it to for this podcast. How was it? How did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
I liked how open ended the conversation was, and I am sorry I misled it sometimes.
No, it's not.
But
I mean, information जहाँ पे भी है, flow तो चलेगा, कोई नहीं.
But I had fun. Vishal,
Yeah,
how about
even I had fun. Thank you for joining Vishal and Siddharth. It's been great talking to you guys. We'll see more. I'm looking for more podcasts with you guys and more discussions on great stuff in future time.
the next time you have both of us, we're going to talk about relationships and life.
For sure, for sure.